Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome everybody here. Well, welcome back into the Lakers Lounge, everybody. I'm Anthony Irwin, Senior Lakers Insider for Clutch Points, and today on the show we are going to be talking about, I don't think this is hyperbolic at all to say, one of the biggest days in the history of professional sports here in the States and maybe even across the world. The Lakers sold for $10 billion. Not I don't believe that they actually sold for 10 billion. They sold for the equivalent of it based on an evaluation of $10 billion. But essentially, Jeanie Buss, the Buss family, they all elected to sell at least enough ownership stake in the Los Angeles Lakers to Mark Walter and the WSG ownership group, Guggenheim, essentially, the group that I've been talking about over the last year or so. That sale is now final, and it is going to have immense ramifications across the sports world in LA, the NBA as a whole. It's honestly hard to wrap your brain around how big a day this is for us as Lakers fans and for every Laker or every fan base in the NBA. So we're going to talk about this. I'll offer what information I have on the matter, and I've gathered over the last year or so on the matter. And I will also, we got to get to some of the questions that I'm sure you guys have about this, what this means for the Lakers. There's a lot to talk about here. I don't have a ton of time to talk about it because I'm still gathering stuff in the aforementioned basketball game that Avery has that I have to rush off to after this. But let's dive on in. A quick reminder, please do hit that subscribe button. Please hit that like button. And then please hit that share button. Let people know what's going on here in the lounge. If you guys are listening to this, or when you guys are listening to this in the morning via podcast, please subscribe wherever it is that you get your pods, and 5-star reviews wherever it is that you get your pods. And then again, hit that share button. Tell your friends about the show there as well. All right, let's dive on in. And I'm going to start with the way that this story has evolved on my end, just in terms of how it arrived on my radar, roughly when it arrived on my radar, and kind of what's been going on since. Essentially, last year, I would say last year or so, I first, caught wind indirectly, albeit, but that was the first time that you heard anything whatsoever about a potential sale. And it was very buttoned up. It was very, it was not the kind of information you were to share under any circumstances whatsoever. But essentially, at the time, as it was presented, the thinking was the Buss family would sell enough of their ownership stake so that they could, as a family, be more cash heavy, be more liquid than they have been, while they have maintained ownership of the Lakers. Like basically 100% of their net worth was wrapped up in ownership of the Lakers. And it does make it kind of difficult to operate in the way that you anticipate you should be able to as you own a chunk or the majority stake in the Lakers. And so essentially the thinking was that eventually that Jeanie Buss would sit down with Mark Walter in Guggenheim Sports and work it out to where the Buss family could still stick around and operate in some propensity with the Lakers, some capacity with the Lakers. And now, to what extent that is, that remains to be seen. Part of Shams Karania's initial report was that um, Jeanie Buss intends to remain governor of the team. So did Mark Cuban. So we'll see to what extent that actually remains the case. But essentially, when I heard about it at the time, it was one of those things that you just couldn't wrap your head around it. I couldn't imagine a world in which Jeanie Buss did not own the majority of the Los Angeles Lakers. Um, then it didn't look like things were going all that well. It looked like they were nearing the end of the LeBron James era, and it didn't look like there was much beyond the LeBron James era. And the thinking was that, well, once LeBron retires, once the Lakers head into the rebuild and all of that stuff, that we would see a clean slate, and you would see the Buss family sell the Lakers again to the consistent, the common denominator through all of this has been Guggenheim. Like, it's Mark Walter has had his eye on an NBA team in LA dating back to when Steve Ballmer bought into the Clippers. And he has obviously run the Dodgers really well and intends to do so here with the Lakers. So all along over the last year or so, it was a will they, won't they kind of a deal. And then it looked like they would, but then the Luka trade happened. And honestly, at that point, the notion of a sale kind of left my radar. Um, Not necessarily in the way that, like, there's no way it was ever, it's not ever going to happen. Eventually the Lakers kind of had to be sold because they could not be passed down. And eventually the Buss family were going to sell the Lakers. Were they going to sell the Lakers in the next couple of years? That didn't seem to be the case after the Luka trade, but apparently they did arrive at that sale. The number got high enough, $10 billion being the evaluation there for the Lakers. And here we sit. So yeah, this has been something that people have been talking about in whispers for a long ass time. This has been, I think this was always the likeliest scenario, whether it was now or down the road. It did seem as if Guggenheim was getting a little antsy. And apparently they raised that price to a spot where it was high enough that Jeanie and her family elected to take them up on the offer. So that's the path how we got here. That's the amount of information I can offer as far as how we arrived here. Now let's talk about where we go from here. First and foremost, the most exciting thing having to do with this sale is the Lakers will no longer run like, the restaurant in the Bear when the show first started. Guggenheim has been absolutely incredible in their investments into the Dodgers at every level. And it has made the Dodgers into the juggernaut that you see now, where this season has been kind of sort of frustrating, and the Dodgers are still on pace for 100 wins again. And now a lot of people jump to the conclusion of, like, well, the Lakers are just going to go out and sign everybody now. And I think we will see a little bit more investment, a little bit more openness to spending within the cap realms. The bigger, I think, takeaway from this is the way that the Lakers now are going to invest into non-cap restricted things. We just saw the Clippers the other day brought in Monty McNair in some consultant type of gig, and he just adds to their seemingly never-ending front office. They have an insane scouting department. Their intel is something that they invest in heavily. Analytics department, cap room, or cap expert type of stuff. Scouting globally and domestically, all of those things I think are going to be further invested into. And the Lakers, we're about to see them go in I think a very different direction than they have gone over the last 7 years, right? Where Jeanie has continued to double and triple down on her friend circle. I don't think we're going to continue to see anything like that anymore. A fun theory that was floated out to me just before I went live was, hey, what are the chances that Rob's extension was his kind of golden parachute in case Guggenheim elects to bring in a more thought out and filled out front office? That's a fun theory, I would probably say. I don't think Kurt Rambis is going to have the same voice he has had over the course of Jeannie's time in ownership. I don't think Linda is going to have the same voice here. I do believe Guggenheim will continue to believe in JJ Redick. I would imagine they'll surround him with a better coaching staff than they have to this point. One of the things that the Lakers have been known for in the Bus era was not spending on assistant coaches. And one of the complaints that I've heard directly from assistant coaches, some who have even worked with them, is, yeah, they just expected it to be some kind of an honor to work for the Lakers. And it is. It certainly is. But you can't pay the rent with honor. So, in Southern California, in Los Angeles specifically, where you have these insane rent and mortgage costs, the Lakers basically demanded that the assistant coaches who worked with them took discounts to do so. Now, there were the occasional, like Jason Kidd at one point was one of the higher paid assistant coaches in the league at the time. I look, if the Lakers think, if they see star power with somebody, they're willing to pay up. They paid up for JJ Redick. He has a pretty expensive contract too. But for the most part, when it comes to your average assistant coach who do wind up helping you quite a bit, the Lakers were not known across the league for investing in stuff like that. And that will improve. The scouting department that I have been harping on for years, right? Talking about how the Lakers basically expect people who work for them to do their scouting too. And they don't have necessarily, people who are specifically paid to scout the NBA and gather intel from around the NBA. That's something the Lakers have not done. That will improve. So we're going to be entering it. The way that it was put to me at one point was the Lakers are a sleeping giant or a sleeping dragon or whatever you want to call it. And the rest of the NBA was hoping that this day specifically would never come. The reason being is because they know how much meat was left on the bone because of the way that the Lakers were run. And now we're going to see, now there might be growing pains. It's not going to be an immediate thing. Investing in the non-cap regulated things, that doesn't like immediately lead to however many more wins. But it is the kind of thing that over the long haul, we are going to see a Lakers organization that is much better run. And I want to be clear. I don't want this to sound like I'm just shitting on Jeanie or the Bus family. Again, as I've said all along, Jeanie is by all accounts one of the best people in the sport and somebody you would never imagine would own the Lakers or have the net worth that she has. But she had her blind spots, and those blind spots are now going to be filled with actual people who aren't going to have things fall through the cracks as frequently as things fell through the cracks, under the previous regime. Now, as far as questions that I have moving forward or questions that will need to be answered moving forward, we need to find out in the immediate term what Rob's future is with the franchise. He is responsible for the Luka trade. He is was there and greatly responsible for the 2019-2020 final. I think Magic Johnson is more responsible for bringing in LeBron, and I think Clutch is more responsible for bringing in Anthony Davis. But overall, if you do all of the arithmetic on Rob Pelinka, you would arrive at a C average that has incredible highs and credible lows. And if if the Lakers are one of the first question I have here for the Lakers moving forward is does Guggenheim believe in Rob Pelinka here moving forward? And if so, what will they do to supply him with more firepower so that you can still maintain the high highs that Rob is clearly capable of, but also bring the low lows up to, from an F to a C, so that instead of averaging out from an A to an F, you land at a C. But if you bring that F to a C, now you're looking at a B average instead. And honestly, that's as much as you can kind of hope for with executives. Just be better than average. And then if you can exceed that and become legitimately good, and over time, instead of raising the F to the F floor to a C floor, bring that C floor up to a B floor, or you just consistently operate at an A level, then great. That's all that I've been hoping for. And we'll see if Guggenheim believes that Rob Pelinka is capable of that. It's going to be really interesting to see, honestly. So, yeah, that in terms of that's the first question I have. For where things go from here. The next question I have is Jeannie's role. Apparently the anticipation or the expectation is that she's going to remain as governor of the Lakers. Okay. Now look, the Dodgers do have a team president who resides over the rest of the organization, who works with Mark Walter, and perhaps that will be Jeannie's role. I just don't think that she has flashed the basketball instincts to maintain that kind of a role. But if that was part of the sale, it was part of the sale, at least initially. So we'll see how that goes. Maybe if that happens, then I would anticipate Rob will continue in his position with the Lakers. And I just don't see a world in which Guggenheim buys the Lakers to run them the same way that they have been run, while the Lakers have kind of toiled in mediocrity more than they should have to this point. So I would really expect that this front office is going to be filled out, and I would anticipate that would mean that Rob is going to have to work with somebody, and who that somebody is going to be. First name that kind of comes to mind is Bob Myers. He was the Lakers. Jeanie Buss took lunch meetings with Bob Myers. I was told at the time, back when Magic had left the organization, just to feel out his interest in running the Lakers. Obviously, nothing came of it. Rob wound up getting the promotion and all of that stuff. But that's a name that kind of comes to mind. I think the Lakers just need to open it up and bring more voices in there that are from around the NBA rather than Jeannie's immediate friend group. They've been the most insulated franchise in the sport now for the entirety of the time that Jeannie has been running them, and that will need to stop. So that is my first question there. My next question is going to be for JJ, right? Like, JJ was a Jeanie Buss hire. Now, JJ Redick was hired at a time while the Buss family and Mark Walter were talking about the sale. So I would imagine that Walter was at least somewhat comfortable with Redick as the hire there. The nice thing is with pockets as deep as Walters are, um, they could just eat that contract and just move on and bring in all like they could at any point here clean house. And I don't think that is off the table in any which way. So with JJ Redick, uh we saw a fantastic regular season with him. We saw, I thought, a pretty bad showing in the postseason. And I do, however, think that we see a very bright future ahead for him. So much like Rob Pelinka, it's like either Guggenheim is going to invest to get the absolute most out of Rob Pelinka, and they're, I think, going to invest to get the absolute most out of JJ Redick. And one of the things in preparation for this next season has been the expectation that no real changes were coming with the coaching staff. I think we now have to start digging to find out if that is going to remain the case. So that's another thing I would say to keep an eye out for. Final question that I have here moving forward, and then I'll dip into your guys's. I see one starred comment there, so I'll get into that one, and then I do really have to leave. The final question I have is, what does this mean for LeBron? Because it seemed pretty clear that Jeanie and LeBron had worked out some kind of a deal where the understanding was LeBron was definitely going to retire as a Laker. I still think that is easily the likeliest scenario. I think that is I still think that's what I would bet on as far as the outcome to LeBron's career. He does have this player option ahead of him, and it's going to be really interesting to see what his decision is. Remember, when LeBron signed to be with the Lakers, he was signing to work with Magic Johnson and with Jeanie Buss. Now, then Magic left, and now Jeanie is also gone. So now LeBron is going to be working with Rob Pelinka, who did everything in his power to sell out LeBron and Clutch for the Russell Westbrook mistakes. Plural. I say mistakes plural because there were several of them in as it pertained to Russell Westbrook. Does LeBron trust Rob Pelinka in an organization that does not have Jeanie Buss around? That's going to be interesting to see as well. Also, will Guggenheim step in and be like, all right, what is your plan here? Because under Jeanie and historically, the Lakers have basically told superstars, you can stay here as long as you want. We will continue to pay you as much as you want for as long as you want. And that's how this is going to go. I don't know if Guggenheim is going to operate in that same way. And that's going to be worth keeping an eye on as well. So there's a lot up in the air. The ramifications to this decision and this moment are going to be felt for decades from now, plural. So what I'm going to do is well, no, I got to do this first and get to your super comment. All right. The super comment here, Robert Jones. Will the Lakers Lounge claim Rob Pelinka on waivers? A stupid, funny thought crossed my mind after this. It was like, I wonder if some of these people will become more available to idiots like myself. I doubt it. I don't think it will. But it is kind of funny to be like, huh, I wonder. No, I'm not actually going to pick up Rob Pelinka off of waivers if he is available, but it's going to be interesting to see if he does make his way to the waivers. All right, I've already recorded one show today. This is probably going to stand in for the lowdown as well. But holy hell, what a day here for the Lakers. We are going to be, I would probably say, recording several episodes on this subject over the coming days as we get more and more information on how this is going to run. and what the Lakers organization is going to look like, and what similarities it might have with the Dodgers organization. Hopefully, a lot. I'm not going to lie. The way that the Dodgers are run seems like the way to run a professional sports organization. So the closer they can get to that, the better. So until the next time you guys hear from me, though, I'm Anthony Irwin saying have a great rest of your day. Make somebody else's. And I will talk to you. It might be 15 minutes from now. Have a good one, everybody.